All right, I'm late. Fine. Keep it to yourself. If I had a scheduler, we wouldn't be in this myth. Turn the snare up in my headphones. Okay. Friends, neighbors, and the empty parking lot I'm addressing because none of you are willing to prioritize my self-aggrandizement over your holiday recreation. Today is the 249th anniversary of the Continental Congress's Declaration of Independence and the ratification of a document which unflinchingly pronounced that the 13 colonies would no longer be a vassal of a distant crown, that they were now a united, free, and independent band of sovereign states. That document memorialized Benjamin Franklin's Albany Plan of Union, penned right here in our historic hometown, which 22 years earlier had called on 13 disparate polities to unite under one banner in recognition of destinies bound inexorably together.
And while the authors of that Declaration of Independence were of a fraternity
that united those 13 colonies, oversaw a war of independence, crafted a wholly revolutionary framework for democratic governance, and established a pioneering new nation on this earth. I address you today because I seek election to a mostly meaningless ceremonial office I didn't know existed until this past April. Ladies, gentlemen, etc., I hereby announce my write-in candidacy for president of the Albany Common Council, our capital city's legislative body. In accordance with the city charter, the Common Council president presides over Common Council meetings. He or she doesn't even have a vote on matters presented by the 15 council members who correspondingly represent the 15 wards of this city. But what the president does have is a lofty title, and thereby a seat at the table of municipal officers who will influence the way $400 million in state funding is spent in this community. And the course will chart as we arrive on the doorstep of 2030 in these final years of a mostly forgotten comprehensive plan adopted back in 2009. So today, and on Election Day, November 4th, I'm asking you to empower me on our neighborhood's behalf. I'm asking for your vote as the party unaffiliated candidate beholden to no party or special interest beyond the moral and economic health of this city. I'm asking you to learn that my name doesn't have a friggin' I in it. Jesse. No I. Which you'll need to know because I'm not on the ballot. And so you're going to have to write me in. What I'm not asking you to do is like me. It'd be weird if you did. White, male, irritatingly entitled. This is not a face you're supposed to like, and I'm certainly not doing myself any favors by addressing you from a lectern deliberately calculated to antagonize the ideological Gestapo that's made the Albany subreddit its operational headquarters. But what I am asking you to do is recognize that the things you don't like about me are precisely what make me the advocate you need in city government. With Albany's unitary party primary election season now behind us, think long and hard about what your candidates are actually going to do, what they actually stand for. Beyond the platitudes and metaphor and workshop messaging and 5-point plans you didn't read on campaign websites you didn't visit, what do you know about your elected leadership?
You already know what I stand for.
You already know my agenda. You already know my 6-pillar recipe for Albany's rejuvenation and my battle cry, ending poverty is good for business.
R.
Rehabilitation of the 873 vacant buildings as compiled in the results to my Freedom of Information Law request, which I published this past April. E. Mobilization to resuscitate a public education system on which we depend to spare the children perpetuating and being chewed up by gun violence in this city. C, aggressively resourcing our civic services to include properly incentivizing the would-be recruits to an Albany Police Department that faces chronic and crippling manpower shortages, which the uniformed will tell you in a whisper could be alleviated with better pay. I, unleashing the power of our communal innovation by dismantling the economic and regulatory impediments to conducting business in this city, which drive opportunity into the waiting arms of those jerks in Schenectady, Troy, and Saratoga. Boo! Hiss! Boo! P, the preservation of a city heritage rich in history and architectural elegance, with investments recognizing that Albany's brilliance exists everywhere, from the streets to the rooftops, and isn't confined to the four walls of a freaking museum. And finally, E, most importantly, empathy, specifically for the unhoused, for the impoverished, for the mentally ill, for the drug addicted, even for the panhandlers who degrade our collective quality of life and who are desperate for a lifeline that only we can extend. There you have it. An acronym depicting the 6 pillars of my recipe, which we have a one-time opportunity to operationalize solely because nearly $500 million of state taxpayer money is coming into this corridor. It's our job to make sure that money doesn't go to corporate-connected charlatans seeking to build, for example, a soccer stadium, or to pet projects designed to make empty political statements. Your job is to elect me. My job is to not betray that gamble. Exploit my privilege. Use it to your advantage. I extend to the marginalized this Caucasian cloak, the baritone of my vocal cords, to amplify needs that will make this city better. How can you trust me? Because I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for me. I'm running for office because I don't want to live in a city where more than 700 of our tribe sleep in porta-johns and on the streets. I don't want to live in a city where gun violence extinguishes the lives of an up-and-coming Generation Alpha. I don't want to live in a city where flagrant illicit drug use and aggressive panhandling drive away the commercial base we need to forge our future. I don't want to live in a city where the only thing to do at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday night is me, because I'm definitely available, so Rebecca Lobo, DM me. Behind me is one of the many vacant buildings which blights our city. In front of me is Hattie's Restaurant, a commercial failure like the Lombardo's restaurant. It succeeded, both victims of the environmental poverty in which these esteemed institutions tried to conduct business. Up the hill is a museum, soon to receive $150 million in renovations that no one will ever see if those red X's continue to drive people away. President Donald Trump is soon to sign into law his so-called big, beautiful bill, which yesterday was approved by Congress. I'll concede that I'm unlikely to read every line of this legislation, which, incidentally, makes me just like every member of Congress. But the commentary I've encountered is deeply troubling. If true, slashes to what remains of our social safety net will jeopardize entrepreneurs like me, who in the absence of employer health insurance depended on Medicaid to cover the cost of the treatment at Sloan Kettering that covered and saved my life. It will jeopardize the health care of those who lose their jobs in the face of new technologies reshuffling our society. It will threaten the livelihood of children and families who without means and without access will become the very burdens to a healthy country that this bill's proponents claim to be eradicating. The national becomes the local. The local becomes the personal. The personal becomes the problematic. But mine is a voice that can speak loudly, persuasively, and unsparingly on these issues. Give me the conch shell. Give me the microphone. It starts with your vote. Fellow Albanites, you know me. You've cringed at me on social media. You've rolled your eyes at me at community meetings. You've held your head in your hands when I've crashed the public comment period at Common Council meetings. But even if you hate me, even if my voice grates on your ears, you know that I at least try to listen to you. You know where to find me to ensure that I do. You know that I'm not going anywhere, that I've never sat idly by whether or not you've agreed with my perspective. I am just like whiskey. In the absence of better options, I help you deal with a hard day. Cough. Brand, logo. I'm a practicing attorney and a public defender. I'm a business owner and a retail operator. I'm a two-time recipient of the Bronze Star who returned from overseas to buy a house on Lark Street because there's no place like home. On November 4th, ensure our home is defended by a guard dog. His name is Jesse Summer, and he's not afraid to refer to himself in the third person. Jessessommer. No S at the end. I leave you all with a quote from either our founding fathers or possibly a mid-1990s Hollywood blockbuster. Doesn't really matter which. We can't be consumed by our petty differences anymore. We will be united in our common interests. We will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day. Thanks for joining us.